So welcome back to my garage. This is Gamer Dom, and I thought today I'd take a look at one of the more controversial tanks that Wargaming has released in recent times. This is the IS-3A, which is a Russian Tier 8 heavy premium tank. And it's fair to say that this ruffled a few feathers when it appeared just before Christmas. It was made available as part of the Advent offers on the EU server. North America had the opportunity to buy it for a bit longer, I believe. I'm not sure about the other servers, but it's since become, since the new year anyway, they've made it again available here in the EU as part of a package that you can buy, and it's not cheap. It's one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive, Tier 8 premium tanks in the game. £36.87 is currently what it's on sale for in the premium shop in Europe, which is just under €50. For that you get the tank, a 50% crew, garage slot, and 2,000 gold. Now why you have to put 2,000 gold with it, I have no idea. But this is Wargaming, so anyway. So why is it controversial? Well, funny you should say that. I shall explain. Basically, when Wargaming seem to have changed their philosophy on premium tanks. In days gone by, sound like a right old timer. Well, I am a bit of an old timer. Anyway, in days gone by, they used to ensure that all the premiums that were available were slightly worse than an equivalent tier vehicle that was available that you could just get through your normal research and hard grinding. So in return for that, they gave them premium matchmaking, which meant that they wouldn't see battles that were more than one tier above them. So a tier 8 premium would never see a tier 10, for instance, not unless you platooned with somebody who was a tier 10 and they pulled you into it. So that was how they kind of got round it. And the reason why you would want to buy a premium was, as everyone knows, they generate a lot of credits, they generate extra experience for your crews, and therefore you can train your crews quicker if you've got a premium. So you can take your same class crew, same nationality crew out of a normal tank. So I could take my crew from my regular IS-3 in this case and put it into this IS-3A, and they could work perfectly efficiently there and have no negatives. They could do their ×2s, ×5s, whatever the current thing is on the premium vehicle, and then they can go back into their regular vehicle, the IS-3, and do their ×3, ×2s, whatever it is there. So it's a really good way of training up your crews. So then Wargaming seemed to change the philosophy on all this. They decided that that they would do away with premium matchmaking, and you've seen that increasingly. The sort of old tier, premium vehicles that had the limited matchmaking are starting to disappear from the shop and from the tech tree. Jag Tiger even on the German line, the tier 8 TD is gone. The E25, the German TD again, has gone. And this seems to be the way they're going. And I guess as a result of that, and in fact they still want to sell premium vehicles, they've increased the efficiency of these vehicles. So they're no longer the poor relations of their own, of their equivalents, if you like. So if you look at things like the Cromwell B, it's as good as the regular Cromwell. The Rudy is as good, slightly better even, than the T-34-85, and the SU-122S is at least as good as the SU-152, although different guns in that scenario. So it seems to be a way they're going. So because these no longer have, you know, they can no longer only see one tier. These tanks can now see up to 2 tiers above their own tiering, which is exactly the same as every other vehicle in the game. So as a result, they've upped the efficiency. They've upped, put my teeth back in. They've increased how good these tanks are, these premium tanks that they're bringing out. So that's what brings me back, in a big wide detour, back to the IS-3A. The IS-3A is at least as good, if not better, than the regular IS-3 that's available through the tech tree. This is it. Now anybody who's been playing World of Tanks for any length of time, and if you've got up to tier 8 or even tier 6 and 7 if you've been unlucky, you'll know that the IS-3 is probably one of the most efficient heavy tanks in the game. Some might argue one of the best tanks full stop in the game. It's got fantastic armour, it's got a very good, if somewhat inaccurate, gun, and it even has mobility. For a heavy, it moves around the battlefield pretty quick. So when Wargaming's brought out the 3A, there was a lot of consternation because everyone was saying, hang on a minute, you're taking the best tank in the game, pretty much, certainly pound for pound, tier for tier, probably the IS-3 is right up there with being one of the best tanks in the game, and you're making a premium version of it, Wargaming? And there was lots of people crying foul and saying this must be, this is proof that Wargaming is going pay to win, because this is a brute. And I'll be honest, it is a total brute. So I guess the jury's out on it. Are they damaging the future of the game with this or not? I don't know. It's a very expensive premium. That said, if you really wanted to, you can go and buy a Love or you can buy a T-34 in the shop, and they're about the same price. This thing is far, far better than any of those tanks. So anyway, everyone will have their view, and I'd love to hear what people think down below, whether they think this is a good move, a bad move, just one of those things kind of moves. So yeah, I don't know. I'm fortunate in that I can afford to spend a bit of money on this game, probably too much. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of people who play the game, according to Wargaming at least, do not spend any money with the game. So it is in effect people like myself who are paying for premium vehicles and all the other stuff that are funding the game. And it's a good game, and I don't mind paying a little bit to get some unique tanks, and I think this one is a unique tank. I suspect very strongly it won't be as unique as many people would like it to be. I suspect it will be a bit of a cash cow, and they'll keep rolling it out every so often to get people to spend money on the game. Time will tell. Maybe I'm a cynic, but I'm a cynic. So anyway, enough of the power politics, let's get down to the tank itself. Well, the review of this is pretty simple, because basically it's just an IS-3. So, well, that's not entirely correct. So the IS-3 with a different turret. Okay, that's not fair either. There's one other very important difference, and anybody who's very observant will have noticed. It only has 3 crew. Why does it only have 3 crew? Well, I'm sure unless you've been hiding in an Eskimo hut for the last 6 months, you will have known the hype around this tank, which was caused by the A on the name. Originally, when they brought this out on the test server to draw into the test accounts maybe, to show it off, it was called the IS-3 Auto, and everybody got really excited because they had visions of this being an auto-loading IS-3, so having a magazine of some sort, much like the French auto-loading and Czech auto-loading tanks have. It ain't that. It is an automatic loading system which replaces the need for the loader and does, it's true, increase its reload time by a little bit, but it's not a huge deal. So it's not an autoloader, and that's why they've reduced it, made it the IS-3A. So it's got an automatic loading system, and this was I believe from my knowledge of history that this was something the Russians in particular were trying out a lot, and I think some of their more modern tanks do carry these auto-loading systems. It reduces the size of the tank. Certainly in terms of the silhouette, it makes them much lower to the ground. If you can replace a crew member with an automatic system, you can make the turret smaller and you can make the vehicle lower to the ground and therefore harder to see and harder to hit. And that's what this vehicle is. So, and actually if you look at the two tanks, the IS-3's turret is quite a lot bigger than the 3A's. And that's because of this 3-crew system. So, and this leads me straight into one of the issues with this vehicle. And don't get me wrong, it's a fabulous vehicle. I really enjoy playing with it. It's very, very, very good. However, one of the challenges is it only has 3 crew. And as I said at the beginning, one of the things about any premium is, well, their value is the fact that you can use them as a crew training tool. Now you can't really do that if you've only got 3 crew, because what are you going to do with your loader? So if I was to take my crew from my IS-3 here, it's a 4-man crew. If I put it into this IS-3A, my loader won't get moved over and therefore won't get trained. And so it limits, it doesn't completely reduce the benefit, but it does reduce it in my mind. This is why I have actually started a new crew just dedicated to the 3A, and that's because I had lots of largely I had lots of Russian crew kicking around in my barracks. I've got far too much crew kicking around that I wanted to use some of them, and also because I thought I'm going to use this as a dedicated crew tank, so I'm not going to worry about crew training. I'm just going to try and get this crew moving as quickly as possible. Now I think they started at something like 50% on their first skill. I forget where they were from, probably from one of the Rampage crews or something like that. But you can see they're already up to 90 on their first crew skill, which, given the fact I've only played 23 games, shows this is pretty pokey. So anyway, so that's the problem. So yeah, that's the difference with this tank. So where was I? In terms of comparing it with the IS-3. Well, the IS-3, let me just bring that out and put it side by side. Now it's just, I mean, at the end of the day, it is the same tank with just a different gun, a different turret, and an auto-loading mechanism. However, the 3A does have 50 more hit points. Why that is, I don't know, but it does. In terms of weight, the IS-3A is slightly lighter. Obviously the loader must have been some kind of bloater. So, whatever, it's lighter. Now the big difference on these two vehicles, on paper at least, is the engine power. So the regular IS-3 has a very good 700 horsepower engine, which gets it up to a top speed of 38 and gives it a reverse speed of 30. Now anybody who's got the IS-3 will know that one of the nice things about it, one of the many nice things about it, is it's actually surprisingly nimble for a heavy tank. So when you are in higher tier games and you find yourself as a tier 8 and a tier 10 matchup, for instance, it has just about enough grunt and engine speed to get to keep up with some of the mediums and to help them out. Means you don't have to go up against the big, big heavy tier 9 and 10 heavy tanks, you can fight with the mediums where your gun can do some damage. The 3A, however, only has a 520 horsepower engine, so that's considerably down. Its top speed, however, they say is 40. Now, I've not managed to do 40 in this. Maybe coming downhill you might get 40, but my experience is, while it's not tragically slow, it is slightly slower, certainly accelerating, than the IS-3. Certainly traverse speed is worse, 26 degrees per second as opposed to 30 on the IS-3. So I saw some people commentating about this tank with 3A and saying, oh, it's very sluggish and blah blah blah. I can't honestly say I find it sluggish. It's not British heavy tank Carnarvon Black Prince type speed. It's a reasonable speed. Is it nimble? Does it get away from the lights quickly? No, it doesn't. But you'll see in some of the videos, the IS-3s don't sort of completely run rings around it. They get away quicker, but generally you can keep up reasonably well with them. So hull armour is identical, so they both have the very distinctive IS-3 what do they call it, pike nose. So this V shape here at the front, and it's 110 millimeters at the front. These X tracks here are actually spaced armour, so if you're firing one of these, don't fire those, because that gives even more thickness to this ridiculous front armour. Traditional weak spot is the same on the IS-3, is the lower plate, and if you angle it incorrectly, so this is one of the tanks where you don't angle. Most tanks you get to a sort of angle like this, and anybody shooting at you, assuming you've got cover here, anyone shooting here, the shots will ricochet off this way because the sloping of the armour and the angling that way will accentuate the armour and make it almost impenetrable. On the IS-3 you can't do that, because what you're doing by doing that kind of angling is you're making this pike nose flat. So any shots coming in around here tend to go straight through. And again, you'll see in one of the replays I'll show you later that I played earlier on today actually, there was an IS-3 who was trying to angle like that, like you would in a traditional heavy. And once I got my aim right, I was able to plug shots through here with ease. Whereas he, and I was keeping my tank pretty much like that, with the wall here, actually no, the wall was here, and all he could see was the side armour here, and my tracks, and the side of my turret, and he couldn't pen me. So, what was I saying? So there's that. The side armour is exactly the same on the IS-3 as on the IS-3, 90 on the hull. And again, that doesn't tell the whole story. There's spaced armour, these tracks each shots. The IS-3's armour, side armour, is one of the most effective armours in the game. Back of the turret, back of the hull is 60, which again is not that bad. Most tanks have an HE shell that penetrates up to 50. Now this is 60, so you can't reliably. You can't even use HE to wreck these things. Turret-wise, again, exactly the same armour. 249 on the front, and it's really, really well rounded. So shots just ping off all over the place on this. Absolutely ping off everywhere. Again, you'll see a game that I'm going to have to show you later on, where I managed to get on a hill looking down, and shots couldn't get through because all I could see is this really rounded turret, and it's just a bouncer, frankly. Now the weak spot of all IS-3s and the IS-3A is this panel up the top here, which is paper thin, something like 20 mils. So if you can get above one, or you've got a tank that's particularly high and you can fire down on it, that's the place to aim. Frontally anyway. Side armour of the turret, 172, which is the same as on the IS-3. And again, you know, good luck penning that. Even if you hit that absolutely flat there, it's rounded. It's really well rounded, and so, you know, unless you've got a very big ass gun, chances are it'll bounce off. Rear of the turret, 100. Again, exactly the same as the IS-3. So there you go, you've got a tank that basically is an IS-3 with a smaller turret and an auto-loading gun with only 3 crew. On the surface, it's slightly slower. Reality in game conditions, I don't necessarily think it is substantially slower. It definitely is, but it's not to a huge degree. Not so you'd really notice. Its turret traverse is slightly weaker. Actually, it's quite a bit, 22 degrees per second as opposed to 26 on the IS-3. So that's a little bit of a difference. View range is a Russian tank, so view range is not great. 350 meters in both vehicles. But both these tanks are brawlers. They're heavy tanks that you want to get into the face of the enemy. You want to see the whites of their eyes. You want to drive up to them, stick your gun in their face and obliterate them. That's what they do. So view range isn't quite so important as it is on some of the others. So having looked at all that, let's have a look at the one thing that is pretty different, and that's the gun. Bring it up there. And just for comparison, I will bring up the top gun on the IS-3. So the IS-3A's gun, I've been told it is basically the IS-5's gun. For those of you who don't know who the IS-5 is, don't go hunting around it in the shop, you won't find it. It is a Clan Wars reward tank. You see a few of them around, and the gun is not fantastic. And people moan about the gun. The armour on the IS-5 is fantastic. I have to say, if the IS-5's gun is exactly the same as this IS-3A's gun, then they're moaning about nothing, because I think this gun is terrific. It does a really good job. So, penetration is pretty much the same between the top gun, the BL-9 on the IS-3, and the top gun on the IS-3A's gun. It's a slight reduction. 4mm is the only difference with their standard ammunition. And there's another difference. So the IS-3A fires composite rigid, whereas the standard IS-3 fires armor piercing. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. So APCR flies much quicker. It has a much higher velocity than standard armor piercing. However, it loses penetration over long range. So it's a good news, bad thing. However, given the fact this gun is not designed for sniping, it's less of an issue. Less of an issue in my mind. So it is what it is. That's what you have. In terms of premium ammunition, however, it's the other way around. The 3A has better penetration than the standard IS-3. The IS-3A has 270 with its heat shells, so its premium is a heat shell. The IS-3, which has a APCR as its premium, just to be really confusing, has 265. They both have, and both on the standard and their premium shots, have an average damage of 390, which is a good kick in the face for anything. In terms of HE, well, they're pretty similar. The IS-3 has it in terms of penetration there, has 68, the 3A 61, but they both dish out 530, so HE is a good option as well, particularly when you're firing against lightly armoured things or artillery or so forth. That's a good amount of alpha, and 60 penetration is pretty reasonable. Now, this is where the IS-3A's gun is not, well, neither gun, to be honest, are not great at long distance firing or sniping. dispersion is 0.46, which is pretty horrible. So, you know, but then it's a Russian tank, and Russian tanks seem to have a weird sense of accuracy that nothing else has. So that's his number, but you can't rely on it to snipe. Aim time 3.4 on both vehicles, which is okay. But again, you know, again, it's like repeat myself like a broken record. You're in the business of getting up close, and when you're up close, aim time is less of an issue than it is when you're, you know, firing a TD from range. So overall, the gun. Oh, so one thing I've neglected, probably the most important thing here, and that's rate of fire. So the advantage the IS-3A has is on its rate of fire. On paper, without any kind of crew abilities or anything else, has 5.13 rounds per minute as opposed to 4.5 on the BL9, which means in a straight up slugfest between these two tanks you will fire more shells more rapidly on the 3A, and that's the effect of the autoloader. The robot wins as opposed to the human loader. So there you have it. This is the IS-3A, and I think it's a fabulous vehicle. Really, really good. And I am completely torn and on the fence between whether this was a good move by Wargaming or not. On one hand, I like it. On the other, makes me a little nervous that something so good is available to buy for those that are fortunate enough to have the money to be able to pay for it. And I know that a lot of people can't afford it. They've got to, you know, so it's tough. But anyway, let me know below what you think. Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's unfair? Should premiums be like they used to be in the good old days? Weaker versions of the standards, but given some preferential matchmaking to make up for it? Or what? Or is it better now that they're more like the regular tanks? Just better credit earners and so forth? I don't know. I really don't know. I like my premiums, I've got loads of them. And I enjoy playing with all of them, even the supposedly weak ones. Super Pershing, for instance, people moan about. I love it. Fantastic fun. So, anyway, enough flannel. Let's get on to some gameplay. And I've got a couple of games that I played earlier that should give you a good indication of how this tank plays. Okay, so here we are on Malinovka. It's a tier 9 game, and we're gonna brawl basically. Okay, we're in a tier 8 and a tier 9. The enemy have got a VK-45B, an E50 and a T-54 as their tier 9s. Pretty much the same as we have, slightly heavier tanks they've got. But anyway, we're going to head up the hill. I've done the old Unicum trick, someone once told me. Not that I claim to be Unicum. Oh no, of course he's not. Says everybody who's watching this video. Yeah, I know I'm not. But one thing I did read somewhere or heard somewhere, maybe it's in a video, that the Unicums often do is load the first shot as premium, so that they know that they're at least going to get some damage in a game. So that's what I'm doing. Don't know whether it makes any difference, but what the hell. If nothing else, it gets your enemy shouting at you. Usually. Gold noob! Gold noob! So anyway, enough of that. We're whizzing up the hill. And you see we're doing okay, speed-wise. Let me just go on the free camera. You can see there's IS-3s aren't fully focused on getting up the hill as quickly as they possibly can, but we're keeping a good pace up ahead of them. We're doing 20, 21, 22 going up this hill. The M103 is keeping up, but you know, we're keeping the same distance. So let's see, what do we see here? FCM. He looks right for a shot, he's not paying attention. How would you like a heat shell right in the side of your turret? Very nice start. 374 damage. It's a Tiger 2. I think he needs a bit of working over. Back to normal. APCR rounds, which are the normal shells on this thing. We can can't quite get him into the work over the FCM, but no, I'm not going to hit the VK. Bounced a shot from the Tiger and put one straight through. I think that went through his driver's commander's hatch. I've got to keep moving because there's RT in play. There's a VK. I'm really struggle to do anything to him. Yeah, that's what I thought, especially because he's angled like that. It's as he comes up the slope, trying to hit him and do any damage to him was a nightmare. But we're keeping him busy, and he's being shot from below, so that's important. So Tiger, let's give him a bounced him again. Put another one through the top of his turret. Yeah, so 2 bounces from that Tiger 2, and we put 2 shells straight through his turret in return. Good exchange, I would say, wouldn't you? Let's see what else we can get over. We're poking over a bit now. So VK-45 briefly turned its turret the other way, and I thought I could have a quick shot at it, but it snapped it back the other way. Let's go for the AMX. No, he died. Okay, VK again is also turned again. 404 damage, very nice. He's still concentrating the other way, he's not really looking at me. We put another one through the side of his turret. Nice, straight through there, 356. Now we're going to use the speed that we have in this tank to get down and try and flank him. So we're whizzing down, using that wreckage to try and shield us as much as we can, trying to get round. 312 hit as we went past. He put an... Oh no, that wasn't him, that was the T-34. So we've finally taken our first damage. T-34's lower plate is no problem for this tank. So we hit him, we've been hit 4 times. Oh, he's died. We've been hit 4 times. The only thing that penetrated us was the T-34 firing APCR. Everything else bounced off the front of this tank. Particularly off the turret. You can see there's scratches on the side of that turret. Whoops. So the CDC, we just punched a shot into him, missed that while I was looking at the damage. CDC is just a lightweight target, obviously. Never going to have a problem penetrating him. He's running, and I know. So I know, what is that? We've done nearly 3,000 damage in space of a few minutes, which is a pretty good go. I know there's an IS-3 around here somewhere, so I'm coming for him. I want the IS-3. There's the CDC. Ooh, blimey, there's an IS-3, a T-54, and the CDC. So we'll pull back again. Oh, and there's the E-50 as well. Okay, E-50's not looking. Let's see if we can... That was a poor shot, Dom. That was a really poor shot. His turret was facing the other way. I could have put one inside of that, I could have put it into his lower plate, and instead what did I do? I tried to put it straight in his upper plate, which is stupid. And in return he hits me with an APCR round. I bounce the next one because I'm now hull down and using the armour properly. Aiming for his lower plate. There you go, that's better. That's the way to do it. So E-50's down. CDC's pretty much finished. Yeah, there we go, he's dead. Now that's where I make a bit of a misplay. So I've come over here, I'm trying to get that IS-3, got him, but in doing so I had to come right over, and the RT was waiting exactly for me. Massive hit from the RT. Nearly 800 of my damage taken out in one hit, and the T-54 could finish me easily, which was a real shame because we were flying there. I would like to have got the T-54. He's history, frankly. He's got another 54 on his flank and an IS-3 in front. There he goes, bang. So, this is pretty much wrap-up game now. Although it's 11-9, we've got 5 heavies, and they only have 1 heavy left and a piece of arty and a couple of lights. So where is the arty? He wasn't in the normal corner. Oh, there he is there. M103, we'll take him out. Ooh. go, and then the GW got the VK just as his final parting shot. There you go, he's dead. So they've only got the 2 light tanks now, only got the 1 light tank now, so we're pretty much done here. But you can see that tank, the IS-3A, get it in a position where it can bounce shells, where it can let its turret, really strong turret, do its work. It's very, very efficient. The gun is very good if you're firing at short range. If you're firing at any kind of distance, it's not so good. But you know, we fired pretty much all close-up shots there, and we did a lot of damage in a very short space of time. So there you go. That was the IS-3A. One of my early games in this tank. You know, and I say I never claimed to be a fantastic player. Oh no, we know that, says half the people viewing this video. Well, yeah, so I am not. I'm an average player. But even I, with actually, and to be fair, I'm only got okay, they're 100% crew, but they're not fully experienced. I'm sure there are people going around with crews with 3 and 4 crew skills in their tanks. I'm 50% through my first skill with this crew. Even then, that was a first class mastery game, bruiser, Confederate, high caliber. In terms of experience, we finished top, 1264, 4,000, over 4,000 damage. Only the 1 kill, that's why we got the Confederate, but over 4,000 damage in a tier 9 game. Looking at the individual stats, 15 shots fired, every single one of them hit, 12 penetrated. And that's what you've got to do with this gun. It's an up close and personal gun. You need to get in people's faces and smash them. 1400 damage, only, well, that was basically 1 shot. 384 was over 300 meters away. I think that was the CDC that I hit. It may have been the E50. Anyway, whatever. You know, and if you remember, I fired at that E50, and even though I thought the shot was fully aimed, it went nowhere. So, what are you going to do? Received 10 hits, only 4 of which penetrated. Again, the bounce doesn't say on this thing. No, it doesn't. It does on the proper report. So anyway, we took a lot of hits and we bounced a lot of them along the way. 1600 damage bounced. You know, these were big heavy tanks that were firing at us mainly because we were mixing it in with the big boys. So that shows the IS-3's armour working well, particularly that turret, really, really good. We did a massive 121,000 credits. Even after we'd fired, I mean, the APC, the heat shells are a little bit expensive, but even then we made a clear profit of nearly 90,000 credits. Yeah, and okay, you're not going to do a 4,000 damage game every single time you take this thing out, but even so, that's a good chunk of change that I'm getting back for my investment in this tank. Experience 2,000, which is really, really neat, and that's getting my crew up very, very quickly towards that first skill set. So, and particularly because, again, another thing to say about this, because there is only 3 crew, all that training, all that experience is being shared across just 3 crew members. If you had a 4 or 5 crew, you're obviously splitting that further. So, yeah, that's another consideration with this tank, and only having 3 crew. So all in all, a really good game. Okay, so here we are with the IS-3A. We're on Siegfried Line, and it's a tier 9 game. Fairly even number. Well, we got looks like an extra heavy on them, but otherwise it's a fairly even match up. So we're going to head up into the city, see what we can do. Yeah. basically see what we can do and mix it up. I mean, it's a, as I said before, this is a brawling tank, so you need to get out and mix it up with them where you can. So I haven't bothered loading a premium. It's VKBs again. VK45Bs, they're a nightmare to penetrate. So let's see what we can do. Nothing there so far. There's Type 54. Okay. IS-3, got no chance, mate. Oh, come on, let me try my luck. My turn. Oh, there's one of those TD things. I can't pen him, he can't pen me. Bang bang bang, he's tracked me. So we can pull that one. Taking ricochets. Still aiming for his weak spot on the top, but not really having much success. The accuracy of this gun is not ideal, as you can see. But they can't pen me at the moment. Mind you, I can't pen them either. So I'm not really doing an awful lot of good here. Let's see if I can make it. That IS-3 IS-3 just keeps trying to hit me. How many shots? That's 9 shots, not 1 pen. But I am being threatened on the other flank, so I do need to watch out. Oh, this is a whole kettle of fish. That's a bigger bugger. But he came on and I could see his lower plate, or I could see his lower hull. So I wasn't so worried about him. I can get me. Ah, missed that. So when that IS-3 is angled all wrong, and I should have been able to get a pen on him there, but I missed that plate, that top plate. If you want to do it again, I can show it again. There we go, there. Yeah, there we go. I can pen him, he can't pen me. I'm angled, he's not. He's actually turned towards me and therefore giving me the... And I finally got the super Pershing into his weak spot. So the way he's positioned there, still can't, he can't pen me. And I'm just taking chunks off him. He's given up, he's had enough of that game. That's the IS-3, I'm not moving out just for a minute. No, he's not. So if I hit him there, he can't cope with it. Can I reload? Ah, he's finally got a shot into me. First one, 13th shot. He's pushing me. I'm going to push up, because... through the super Pershing. Did we pen him? I don't know, actually, now I'm looking at it. Oh. Ah, he's dead. Okay, I was about to load HE, try and have a go on that super Pershing, but somebody else killed him. So let's hell last, see if we can give this P54 I'd like to find premium so much. A bit of surprise battle sex. There we go. Surprise! Bet you didn't like that. KB13, let's see. come in. It's never going to ping me. Can't lose like 2 shots. No pen. Oh, I've got the CDs come round on me. That's not very friendly, was it? Slow some HE, ready for strike back. He's missed. Ah, somebody else got him. It's a shame. So, run off the road, get off me! I'm the most nimble tank in the world, as you can see. Especially with a broken track. So where has that... Oh, there he is. Can't see him. Okay, he's dead. So there you go. So how much damage do you reckon we bounced there in that game? I mean, that was just extraordinary. Okay, those guys just didn't seem to know what they were doing in terms of bouncing shells, but wow. Yeah, we got a steel wool out of that. First class, mastery again. Fire for effect. Battle buddy. Ooh, that's very, very good of us. We haven't hit our allies for 50 battles. That's good. Shame, must be better. Shellproof. Steel wool. That's a surprise. Cool-headed. Where did we finish on the team? We finished top. 1200 damage. 1 kill. Nearly 3.5k damage. Look at that. 3,815 blocked. I mean, it was 13 shots before they got one through our hull, and that's just purely because we were side scraping, and side scraping in an IS-3 is just phenomenally good. I was managing to hide my lower plate, so they couldn't get anything through. And that IS-3 and that Super Persian just kept trying to do it, and without fine premium, they haven't got a hope in hell, frankly. Whereas the IS-3 was coming out, and he was coming out side on, so he was actually accentuating the beak of the IS-3. It's a triangle, and if you come out side on or slightly angled, you're actually flattening out the armour to a hit. Let's have a look at my shot on the screen, so it's easier here. So he was coming out like this, and this angle here, which is quite a marked angle, but when you're looking at it like that, that's bouncing off all over the place. Whereas he was coming out like that, and I could just hit here, and because that's straight, it's flattened out almost. The armour becomes almost exactly what it is, which is 110 at the front. So the shell goes straight through that, easy as pie. What I was trying to do was make sure that the wall was here, and he couldn't see any of this area here, or this area here, and every shell was coming off here, bouncing off the turret, going into the tracks. And as we all know, the IS-3 has wonderful spaced armour and ridiculous armour to the side of it, so that's how we managed to bounce all those shots. So 3,800 bounced, 3,400 given out, 18 shots, 13 of them hit, 9 damage. Early on I missed a few of the shots. I really should have been aiming better. The gun is pretty good, but sometimes it can miss those shots that you need to when you're aiming for particular small weak spots on a tank. Again, over 100,000 credits, 107,000 credits. Whoopie doos. Nearly 80,000 profit that time. What's this one? Experience. What does that maximum mean? Don't know what that means. 1,900 XP. First victory of the day in that tank netted me nearly 4,000 experience. And look at this crew, they're rocketing up, they're already at 90%. So that's the IS-3A. Not at all overpowered, I would say. No, to be fair, as a standard tank, you wouldn't say this was particularly overpowered. You'd say it was an extremely good tank, just like you would with the IS-3. The argument is this is a premium that's generating 50, 60, 70, 80,000 credits out of it, and increased experience for your crews, and you can buy it for 30, whatever it is, £37, which is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not knocking it, but you know, you can buy this tank and have a really strong heavy tank in your arsenal that you can bring out when you want to, and it will cause a lot of damage to enemy teams. You know, even in the hands of somebody like me, who's so not the best player in the world. I'm okay. I'm getting better, but I'm not the best. I don't claim to be. But you know, look at this. I'm averaging at the moment 23 games played in this tank, 57% win rate. I think the top one is the average damage, so 1,700 average damage per game and 1,300 average experience per game. That's not a bad return on a tank. So there you go, IS-3A. Overpowered, pay to win, pay to play. What's your view? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Love to know. And in the meantime, thanks for watching. This has been Gamer Dom, and be careful out there.